Hey guys, Lucas here. Today I want to cover a very interesting idea, which is why carbs are in a way very much like eating pure fat. So we're told from everywhere, left and right, to stay away from saturated fat. And yet, all of this you have here, that's saturated fat. And when you eat it, it ends up like that. And so what you have to realize is that, well, how does it get like that? How does it actually become that? Well, you have to understand that, you have to understand how our body stores energy. So energy comes in three different forms. Calories come in four different forms because you can have carbs, protein, fat, and alcohol. But alcohol isn't, you can't use it for energy. But protein, carbs, and fat you can use for energy. And so how does the body deal with fat? When you eat fat, all the body does is it takes it and it shoves it into fat cells, or it metabolizes it as it needs that fat, that energy. Okay, so that's fat, that's easy. We have unlimited storage of fat, as we know, and for some of us don't really like. You can store a lot of fat and you can store it everywhere, and the body doesn't really have any problem storing it, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately. Protein, what happens with protein? Well, what happens is we don't really eat that much protein because we don't like it. It's not very tasty. So we usually eat a little bit and we use that for all of the bodily functions. And then whatever else is left after that, then it goes to the liver, and then through the process of glucogenesis, it gets converted into sugar, and then it sort of just becomes carbs. And so now we have protein and fat, and the last group is carbs. How does the body store carbs? Well, when you eat carbs, you use a little bit for the immediate energy that you need at that moment, right now, in this moment, and then you have this little bucket for storage in your liver and in your muscle. You have space for about 300 grams of sugar, and that bucket is usually filled. And so, unless you exercise and you deplete that bucket all the time, well, a little bit will go into the bucket, but for the vast majority, you have absolutely no storage for carbs. Absolutely zero storage for carbs. So then what does the body do? Well, it needs to get rid of it because it's toxic. It's staying in the blood sugar. Your sugar is elevated and it's causing inflammation and all sorts of things in your body. So what does it do? Well, it converts it into fat, and then it's gonna store it as fat the same exact way it's stored fat as fat. The only disadvantage here is that instead of just storing it there, the body has to go through this very energy intensive and very unhealthy, if it's chronic, process of converting carbs to fat. And so if you overeat carbs, now you're just putting this really unnecessary burden on your body that you could have avoided if you ate fat, which you like better anyway. So that's the primer on why eating carbs is exactly like eating fat. And if you ask any biologist or just look into your old textbooks from high school and look at how things get stored and how the body deals with fat and carbs, you'll see that this is indeed the case. We do not have a good way to store carbs. All we can do with it is shove it into the fat tissue, convert it into fat, and shove it into fat tissue. And that's why you shouldn't overeat on carbs. Done.